Yes. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Connection. We are delighted to be here. Oh my goodness, it's like the middle of the day. The sun is shining so brightly. It is just an absolutely gorgeous morning here. We are live at the Ligani Club as always on Thursdays, Free Flowing Thursday, with your hosts Minette and Percival Palmer. Good morning, Percival. I'm just amazed. I know. I know. Wow, and there's just a beautiful breeze. Oh gosh, I wish you guys could see it. Yeah, it's really a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous morning. The savannah, was that Trinidad or Africa? Let me come a little closer to you. Uh, we get here a little off ahead of you because producer has to do the setup. When we came, the ground was littered with mangoes. I think we picked up at least maybe 50 mangoes. About 50 mangoes, the most delicious black skin mangoes. I don't know why they call them black skin. They're green, even they look green even when they're ripe. They might get a little golden hue. They're small, the skin is soft and tender, and it's the most delicious mango. And I tell you, well, I watched somebody eat about a dozen yesterday morning. How many did you have actually? You were keeping check?
Yes, man. And somebody said to me, that a mango carries a whole lot of calories in each of it.
Who told you? Who said that to you?
It was.
Who knows that you were pigging out on mangoes?
No, somebody said it to me before because they noticed I've been eating all different type of mangoes, and they said it's a fruit, and so on. They said, but it puts on the calories if you're not.
Oh gosh,
if you're not very careful.
Yeah, mango season is a dangerous time for some of us.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway,
I know some people.
and every mango
bush.
I know Jamaica has so many different varieties of mangoes, and some of them almost like gone out of style. You remember number 11 mangoes?
Oh, I have those, and I always bring for you when I get my number 11s. If you look in the last
delivery,
the delivery that I brought
tell you,
for you.
It's so much competition for the mangoes that I don't know who gets what, because all of us are mango lovers except for Daniel. Daniel will only drink mango juice. Yes,
you have some people like that.
Not eating it.
Don't want to mess up his hands and so on. You remember the picture that we saw this young man eating the mango, eating the mango, and it was on the front page of the Gleaner one morning. It was
that's where that picture came from.
It must say, wow, you can see him into the mango.
It was good photojournalism because he had his eyes closed, and he had the most delightful expression on his face. It's an expression I know quite well. I absolutely love mangoes. I would say mangoes are my favorites. A good pineapple is a close second. And the truth is, not all mangoes are delicious. A delicious mango and a delicious pineapple would be rivaling each other. The other fruits kind of trail along in their wake, like melon and so on. Anyway, it really is Free Flowing Thursday because we start off talking about fruits. One of the well, that's just one fruit with many varieties. Yes, many
fruits are the period, and I'm often to say, no, it's not fruits.
It's one fruit.
One fruit with different manifestations.
Different. It's like one mango with many characteristics.
Right.
It's shapely. It's sweet. It's a little tangy. It's all right. Enough with the man talk. Well, mango man talk.
The man
I'm
goes.
punning.
The man goes.
Where did the man go?
Yeah.
All right. Good morning again. Thank you, those who have joined us online, those who are listening to us on air. We remember first and foremost that we are radio. So the people who listen to us on air are very, very precious in our sight. But then so too are those who join us online, especially the chatty ones like Mr. Delroy Henry, good morning, UK shout out, and Jamaica love. That's what we get from Delroy.
And then Earl, there's no more shoveling of snow in Toronto.
Toronto is getting warmer.
Yeah, it's gotten warmer.
I mean, my one trip to Canada was in the month of June, actually, and it was cold. I'm like, what? Shouldn't it be really like warming up? This is pre-summer. Not so. It was cold. I found it quite cold. Yeah, Earl says, Minette, I'm going to send you some of my weather today. Where I am is 67 degree going down to 53. Cold.
Not nice, not nice.
Cold.
Not nice, not
That
nice.
is what
That's
I
chilly.
say. I mean, I couldn't believe it. But then, you travel and you learn things. But thank you. Our listeners are precious to us, and we want lots more of them. There are some
Subscribe and like.
statistics that we should be aware of. In Jamaica, the market surveys that are done indicate that we have, and I think when Cordell Green was here with us that morning, we spoke about there's like under 1 million people who listen to radio. Can you imagine that? Only like 800 and something thousand people listen to radio, and we have close to 3 million people. So what are the other 2 million people doing? We've got to reach them, because at this time the cost of internet access is sufficiently expensive to make it difficult for persons to just listen to radio online, or get their news and participate in what's happening as actively as they should. And so radio has got to hold its place or regain its place as one of the main means of sharing information, and like what we do here, Pastor Percival, where we try to teach a little bit as well. Earl Brown says, "Uno in a mango heaven." You called it, my brother. We are in mango heaven.
Yes.
Actually, if it might not be apparent from the video, but we are actually situated under a huge black mango tree.
Yes.
Yeah, where
mango,
yeah.
some people call it, yeah. And if there was no catchment, it would be literally raining
Yes.
mangoes.
So we're under like a lanai, or I don't know how else to explain it. Lanai is not a Jamaican word, but we're sitting under a kind of semi-enclosed area with a mesh to ensure that the fruit doesn't fall and hit us
In our heads.
in our heads or fall in our food, because might I remind you that we are hosted by the Ligani Club, and we are actually sitting in the outdoor area of the restaurant, JD's Urban Pub. So when you come to JD's, you can sit on the terrace, pretty much inside the club, or you can stay outdoors under the tree, where you will be very well accommodated. There's a shade cloth under the tree, so the mangoes and the leaves and the blossoms and so on wouldn't fall on you. But if it rains, you would have to move inside. But it's really beautiful. If I can get the camera to pan and show you the tree on one occasion. The producer looked like, yes, the producer has given me the nod. We're going to show you how we're situated, so you can see that where we are within view of the practice court for tennis. So we're looking at like a bullseye target wall. We can see what used to be, what's that hotel again? What used to be the Hilton Hotel is right in our front view. There are palm trees dotted around this garden area. This is the garden dining spot for the restaurant. And man, you can see the palm fronds are waving in the breeze. The mangoes are over us. The catchment that the shade cloth that catches the mangoes is littered with mangoes, clusters of mangoes, and just it's really it's an amazing little spot. It's very natural and friendly, and it's very Jamaican. When you visit Kingston and you visit the Ligani Club, please be sure to enjoy some of the breeze under the mango tree. We've said before that the Ligani Club is situated in the Ligani Plains. Most people who know Kingston think of Ligani as Matilda's Corner and going up closer to Mona. But the Ligani Plains cuts across the middle of Kingston.
Yes, it is.
And it goes right down to the sea. It is you can actually see like the mountain range. The Blue Mountain Range is,
It's the plain between the mountains.
it's the plain between the mountains. And so the breeze that gets trapped in that area just romps and plays all day. All day. No matter how hot it is in Jamaica.
There's always a gentle breeze.
There's always a breeze. And that goes right down to the sea. We can't see the sea from here. Certainly not unless we go on the roof. But just imagine that's where we are. We're situated in the plain, just between the mountain ranges, and that goes right down to Kingston Harbor. So enough of the geography for now. What's on our mind this morning? May I start, Pastor Percival, or would you like to?
No, you
start. I've been chatting it up. I'll take a break.
I'm just celebrating the goodness of God and reflecting yesterday into today in terms of all of the things that are happening to us here, all of the things that are happening around the world. And as I'm saying, when we prayed yesterday morning, just declaring how good God is to us amidst everything. He still remains good to us. We can call upon him and he responds and answers. And just a quick testimony for me. I was thinking about my car. It says my car needs a paint job, and I was kind of disappointed because just over a year ago I'd done a paint job, and I was looking and saying, but what's happening here? It's peeling. It's what's happening. It's supposed to last for a period of time. And a good gentleman looked at it and he says, "Oh, what happened to your car, boss?" So anyway, if you supply the materials, I will do the job for you for free. I said, "What you say?"
Hallelujah.
So what did you say, sir? He said, "Yeah, man, a family." And I never even gave it a second thought. I just went, got the stuff, and yesterday I handed over the car. And to top it all off, the person says, "Well, it's going to take about 5 days, so you can use one of my vehicles while the job is being done." I'm saying, hallelujah. I had to call my wife immediately. I said, "Look what God did for me." I was thinking about it, but the word of God says, even before you pray, I'm answering. That is the God that I serve. So I'm celebrating the goodness of God to me this morning. I don't know if Raphael hears what I'm talking about, but if you can play the selection, CC Winer's The Goodness of God is running after me, and I'm grateful. But if you can, I'd really appreciate it, just to celebrate God's goodness.
All right. The producer has lined it up for you.
Amen.
Yeah, that is an excellent testimony. And here, is that it?
Yeah,
there's more.
There's more.
It's not like, and wait, there's more.
I know. No, just reflecting.
Hey,
on
I
God's
celebrate
goodness.
with you, and in particular because a good deed that's been done to you, and you have the confidence and the grace to share it. A lot of people might say, well, let it appear as if I just went and spray my own car.
No, man. I
But,
could tell you
yeah.
about God's goodness in terms of the smallest details in your life. The word of God says even the hair on your head is numbered. And I'm often saying, sharing it, I says, even those who have bald head, he knows. Those who have bald head, when you shave it off, you know where the root shaft
You know the
was.
minus.
He knows
Well,
where it
Janetta's
was.
lost one
And
more.
and then even for the ladies who have hair plus hair, he knows every hair that is on your head. So we give him thanks.
So you mean like when we buy some here from India?
Or wherever it come from, he knows about that
He
too.
says, well, this lady now has the
Hair
hair
plus
of 10 different people.
But that's all right. Still give thanks.
Stop wearing Lisa here.
Hey.
All right. It is. I love it when one is able to relate the common experiences, the day-to-day, happenings, to promises made, divine promises. And it's one of the things that I think we are challenged to do in this time. It's funny, most people draw a line of causation between the things that happen to them and the people or institutions in their environment. So aside from just laying blame and finger pointing, we do like to know, this has happened to me, why? We, of course, from this program, have put a lot of time and effort into encouraging persons to see the connection, not between what men do to each other, but more associate the happenings in our lives with divine planning and orchestration,
Intervention some of the times.
Yes. And the good thing about that is, because we are prone to find fault and lay blame and
Or
hold
default
people.
position is to blame people.
To blame people. And when we blame people, we feel that they need to be held to account. Normally, that's how you would feel. You go and exact your vengeance, or you go and address the accounting with the person whom you hold responsible. So, for example,
forgiveness yesterday. Yeah,
yes. So, for example, a lot of people are saying JLP and PNP are at fault for our plight, or we might point to one or other person and say, you are the reason why these things are happening to me. If we can elevate our thinking from doing the finger pointing at that level and recognize that the way we are created, the structure in which we live, we really are accountable to a divine being, and he ultimately takes responsibility for our experience here, and he has given some instructions what to do, what not to do, and how to find yourself in that better position where we see ourselves as one family working together, not us and them, not
That's an
hunter
important
and
point,
prey.
That's a very important point.
So we don't fight each other. We
enemy. We
recognize who the
true
true enemy is.
And then begin to fight united together. Because when we are united, the word of God says in Psalms 133, that's when the blessing begins to flow. And even as we are moving towards Pentecost, it happens on Sunday. Interesting thing that you just spoke, as you made reference to the presence of God in our lives in every situation in terms of the sovereignty of God. One of the things is, at Pentecost, the finite comes into connection with the infinite. Let me say that again.
Or
The
reverse it,
the infinite has chosen to connect with the finite, because ultimately he wants to be in relationship with us. He wants to return us to where we were originally. When you read of the account in Genesis, it speaks that God came down and had conversations on a daily basis with him. I see the producer. Yeah.
Yes, it's time for the break. Okay,
Yeah,
please stay with us. We'll be right back. This is The Morning Connection.
At the time when
Welcome back to the Morning Connection. Thank you for staying with us. And thank you, Pastor Percival, for sharing as you did a moment ago. So, for my own part, here's what's on my mind. And I'm not even gonna decide how best to do it. All right. From the start of the week, we've been touching on some issues. And in the way that things normally go with us, it just kind of gets progressively larger and deeper. And so here we are, Thursday morning, or the last day of the week for us, and I am now at the point where I think the obvious next step is to look at what it is that we can use to guide us in our behavior, day-to-day life, that can cause us to have a better experience with one another as we stand shoulder to shoulder facing the common enemy. We declared war, and we've identified some issues which are very spiritual and exist in their own realm. And the truth of the matter is, we have difficulty sometimes separating it from ourselves, but for the most part, all of us know that it is out there and you can see it, figuratively speaking. How do we bring ourselves to the point where we can build that team spirit and stand as one army facing a common enemy? I'm pulling something out of Ephesians. You'll recognize it when you hear it. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful. That's breeze. If you're hearing a whistling sound, it's because we are, as I told you, we're in the Ligony Plains, and the breeze is making its way down to the sea, and it really not paying us any mind. So bear with us for some of the audio quality. I start again. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. And do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, with whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. Get rid of all bitterness, rage and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you. Referring here, of course, to the sacrificial death of Christ for a bunch of guilty people who should themselves be punished for their guilt. Yet God forgave us to bring about a reconciliation between him and his wayward family members. I've gone to that because of some experiences that keep repeating themselves, and you're seeing it. You will recognize it in your personal life, and you will see it being played out in the media as other persons are experiencing the same thing, and it boiling over to the point where it make news. Your situation might not make news because you didn't drive a vehicle and engage the police in a chase. You didn't take out your weapon in a supermarket and shoot your girlfriend because she dissed you. There are things you've done which did not make news, but you recognize that those behaviors on your part come from the same place that the more extreme behaviors come from. I'm just saying. What then are the instructions? And I've just shared it. If we begin with how we speak to one another, meaning now specifically, we don't speak for ourselves, we speak for the listener. And that's what radio is all about too. So I'm learning to practice speaking for the listener, for the benefit of the listener, not for myself. So I may feel really passionate or riled up about something. I want to communicate my passion to you, but I still can't let that overwhelm my method of delivery or my choice of words. I have to maintain that calm and that peaceful, loving style of communication so that you, the listener, can be built up. We are charged to avoid unwholesome talk, meaning talk that is not profitable, not beneficial, not adding good value. Don't let any such talk come out of our mouths. We should only be saying what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, not according to your opinion of their needs, according to their needs. And we speak for the benefit of those who are listening, not for the benefit of self or because it sounds good when you say it that way, but you must be thinking about your listener, meaning then you have to consider your listener's level of education, you have to consider your listener's mood and state of mind, you have to consider the environmental circumstances in which your listener is positioned. So you have to consider context in the overall, so that when you speak, the words that you use are appropriate to the needs of the listener, so the person who is listening can be built up. And then it goes one step further now and said, do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God. And it tells you how you might grieve the Holy Spirit of God. If you are bitter, exhibiting rage and anger, brawling and slander, you know, when you have to tell somebody that you have to give a corrective word to someone, and instead of staying on point, you say, why you always have to do it so? Why you can't get it right? Every time me have to be telling you the same thing. You done so what? You know, you begin to slander the person
and put them down.
And put them down in the midst of what it is you should be doing that's meant to be beneficial to both of you, especially in a home situation where somebody cooks for you or your children.
And that you give me? How are this?
Yes. I mean, you know, they are so.
She gave to me. I mean it. You can't do better. You can't do better than that.
And then there's a thing that I only hear it from my Jamaican brothers and sisters. We refer to food as the little food.
The little bit of food.
So you give me the little food.
Yeah.
It's always the little food. But, you know, they're just ways that we speak to each other when we ought to be using language and displaying attitudes and so on. Absolutely right. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other. We spoke about that yesterday. Just as in Christ God forgave you. Now, the just as is not there to just positionally say, remember Christ did forgive you, God forgave you too. No, the just as is the nature of the forgiveness, the extent of the forgiveness. This is the wages of sin is death. That means when you sin you should die. Yet someone died in your place.
Mercy.
The sacrificial nature of that. And here we are being told that we should be treating one another with the same degree of sacrifice, commitment, care, unconditional love. It is a very high standard, and we know that it takes a lot more than just human feeling and energy to accomplish it. But it certainly can be accomplished. And that's where I'm starting, or rather ending the week, on these words of guidance, instruction. Now, this is not Christian talk. I mean, a lot of persons like to
bash us.
Well, not bash us. They like to say, well, you know, we are moralizing based on ideology or, you know, theological dogma. But you know, and that's a turn off for some persons, because again they continue to feel hurt and pain over the abuse of the church and the way in the past, pastor, or maybe current abuse. Maybe they are in a church family and it is dysfunctional. So whenever you start a conversation that sounds as if is a do-gooding type of, they remember past hurt and they want to shut it out. But this is just plain common sense that operates on the principle that on some principles that make sense whether you are Christian. Can I tell you something? I have no doubt that every gang leader of a criminal enterprise have similar things. We together amongst us, like they say, there should be honor amongst thieves. The gang together need to treat one another in a certain way, so that when we stand shoulder to shoulder, it's every man holding the thing together, so that the enemy is out there and we know who the enemy is. We can recognize the enemy because he doesn't treat us with the love and the brotherhood that operates within our all right, Pastor, I see you itching to say something.
You know, that passage of scripture, if you go
The whole
earlier,
chapter.
no, earlier,
Yes.
and it speaks about how we relate to and engage each other, was in the context when it was speaking about the gifts that were given to the church. Ephesians 4,
Ephesians.
11 to 13, and it says all of the different gifts are there. It's not for ourselves, but it's about empowering the persons we have responsibility for as leaders, so that they become more mature and you're pushing them towards their purpose. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
That's the context. That's the context in which it was happened. And then he encouraged us, use as your benchmark what God has done for you through Christ. So if we benchmark our living, our daily relational things we do against how Christ operated, we're good enough. We are good, because that's the ultimate benchmark that is used. And it says, as in Christ God forgave. We use that as a benchmark in terms of how we relate to each other. And brothers and sisters listening to my voice, if we do that and use that as a benchmark, as our plumb line, we are better off. Which is why Micah 6:8 says, he has shown me, O man, what is good and what the Lord requires of thee, but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. When you use as your benchmark honoring God, fear of God, you know what it does for you? It causes you to love yourself, because God loves you. And if you love yourself, you're going to love other people. If you don't love yourself, because you have not come into the simple revelation that God loves you more than you love yourself, you're going to continue to do the things you do because you don't hate yourself. You don't think that you're valuable. And he's reminding us, hello, I've dealt with that. So because I've dealt with that, then you can do the same thing. Use that as an example. And that to me is the important thing. And some of the times I would do things and I say, but hold on, we used to have this thing, what would Jesus do? And it helps you in terms of stopping what you're doing and being more intentional and becoming more mindful in terms of your actions. You know, just not do things. You say, hold on. What if you were in that person's situation? How would you want them to respond to you? Would you want them to slander you? And all the things that go with that. And beat upon you. Yeah, so I just encourage us. Let us be mindful as Jamaicans. Let us be mindful as people. Think about what you do before you do it. And put yourself in the other person's shoe. And it will, I believe, de-escalate a lot of the conflicts and the things we say about us. The bad mind, all of the things that happen. Because you're thinking of yourself and you're thinking about the other person. And this is in relation to how God has seen you. So there it is.
All right.
I like it when you do that.
What? Keep quiet?
No. When you get me itching to talk.
When I'm itching to talk?
You get me itching to talk.
Okay. And then you notice I just keep quiet.
Yes, I
Yeah,
noticed.
yeah. These are important things that don't often get said in the right place. I think this is a good place to say it. A lot of times, like when you're in the church environment, the approach is somewhat different. And these very useful tips on maybe even how to use the Bible are omitted. And for me, what I do here, I am really sharing my own experience and my own approach to self-development and to how I seek to educate myself, right? And I'm often thinking about the ways in which I have not been helped in the church environment. I haven't been helped much, I confess it. In fact, I've avoided it for the most part. You know that. I've spoken on it privately to you. Um, and I just imagine that a lot of other persons experience the same disconnect, the same dissonance, where they know that it ought to be different and it can be more. They're not quite seeing it. They don't quite understand why. And because of the finger pointing, blame game, they tend to say either the pastor bad or the church is this or so on. I decided just not to be distracted by that, but to go deeper and to seek to build up myself with a better understanding of some of these things and look farther afield for more information, and then be in a position to share, and I am willing to share. So let's relate all of that now to what is happening in Jamaica. I had two experiences yesterday that I am going to share, calling no names unless it is necessary, but certainly suspending my own notions of privacy so that I can share, because usually, my business is private business. I agreed to do something for a charity out of New York that is coming to Jamaica. We're going to interview them later in the month, so you'll understand what that is. And it was necessary for them to pay for something here. So I said, okay, you could send it and I'll just take care of it. Oh, boy.
That was a real experience.
Yes, yesterday afternoon. So money was sent by MoneyGram. And I said, okay, I'll go pick it up and do this thing. Standing in the line, I heard a message on their, they're giving you the messaging as you're waiting. And the message said, well, for what you're doing, you need to have 2 photo IDs, a utility bill in your name that is for proof of address. So 2 photo IDs, a utility bill, and some proof of what the funds are to be used for, I think. What caught my attention was the 2 photo ID. I only had 1. So I said, okay, I'll just stay in the line and send home for my passport or something else. So I waited in the line. It took about 30 minutes or maybe even a little longer. The passport arrives and I eventually am at the counter. At the counter, the customer service person started to interrogate me deeply about my connection to the individual. What is this money going to be used for? I had put something on it. I said that I've put it on the note. I was very specific about the thing. How long have I known the person? What is the relationship? Is there any? Yes. I tell you that it's like $2,000. It's about $2,000. Then I said, well, this is who he is. I'm going to do an interview and he's going to stay at this place and he, wants to pay for certain things in advance. She says, is there any proof of that? So I show her the information. She said, no, she wants to know, do you have any correspondence from the hotel concerning the person staying there? Well, I said, well, you know what? I made reservations at the Ligani Club for this person. Then she wants to know if I have an email or anything that can show. So I remember that I had some text messaging confirming the arrangements. And so I said, well, you know what? We were corresponding by text. She gets it. She was joyful. She says, okay, yes, let me go to a supervisor. And she comes back. She wants to know, well, can I send her the thread of messages and so on it? So at this point now, I am really thinking about Ephesians 4 verse 29. And I don't want anything unwholesome to come out of my mouth, but I'm curious. I said, all right, you know what? You're gone deep into my business, but you know what? No problem. There's no secret. I don't really mind sharing it with you, but I need to know what is it that you're doing. So she explains to me that Bank of Jamaica regulations require her to be satisfied on these various matters and so on. So I had a slightly different understanding of it. I said, yes, you should ask the questions, and if you are satisfied, then you proceed. If you're not satisfied, you can make a report to FID, and then FID can be all up in my business and want to search down my phone and all those things. But why are you doing it? She says, well, this is what is required, and she's communicating with a supervisor. I said, bring supervisor. the supervisor was very brusque. He says the compliance regulations require you to do all of this information. The invoice that you have doesn't have the person's name on it. And he rattles off, and then he just says, "Have a seat over there, and compliance is going to call you." So I sit. Compliance does in fact call. One of the best compliance officers anywhere in the world. The young man was polite. He was very respectful. He says, the purpose of this is to ensure, one, that we don't run afoul of our license. I'm paraphrasing, but we don't want to be in breach of our license. And two, we want to make sure that we get the right information from you. And my job is to assist you to give me whatever information you have so that your transaction can proceed. And we have a pleasant conversation. And he says, all right, do this, do that. So nice that I was prepared to allow the breach of privacy. And by the time I'm halfway through, the sender of the funds called me and said he had been on the phone for half an hour in the US with MoneyGram International customer service, and they have canceled the transaction because they said you're sending money to a high risk place. Whole heap of people are losing their money these days. It was the first time he was doing any transaction like that, and he had just done it online. He says, but I'm here telling you that it's me and it's okay. They said, no, we don't want to do it at this time, so it's best you cancel it. And they canceled it. This morning's headline is US $1 billion threat. Gun-loving scammers could destabilize the country, Chang warns, in championing strong policing with army support. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang has blamed a sharp 53% year-on-year rise in homicides in Western Jamaica on the annual inflow of US $1 billion of illicit funds that are used to buy guns to target rival gangs involved in lottery scamming. So, I couldn't get $2,000 across the threshold.
But people can.
But $1 billion US dollars of illicit funds coming into this country, and we know that it's not coming in knapsack and paper bags and hidden under boats. It is coming through the banking system into this country. I don't even have to guess about that. It is not coming because one or two little people are trying bringing $1,000. It's big money coming, and I sat in there and I saw all kinds of other Jamaicans filling out forms, and the chairs they have in there filled all the time. Poor people trying to get a few dollars in. They are put through the ringer, and some of them the money don't even make it. Yet we have $1 billion US dollars coming into this country. You want to tell me that this world not upside down and we need to urgently flip it? $1 billion US dollars coming into this country. How is it getting in?
No, you remember that case that you only heard that, Mr. Johnson?
That was a rhetorical question. The producer says break. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the Morning Connection. So you heard Pastor Percival testify of the goodness of God, and then you heard me speak of the wickedness of man, because that was my testimony.
That is so. But let me tell you something. It really upside down. Really, 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 really is upside down. When you consider what has happened, because I can share the same. When you go to them, you have to fill out the form. There's a person who is overseas that support their brother here, and him puts a write it in his mind. So them say, handle the thing. When I go to collect what they send, and it's not 100 US in a 50 US or 50 pounds them send fee. You have to fill it up. What is your relation to this person? Da 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 da. And I'm saying, okay, where do we go? What is happening here? When we're missing out, it's a forest for trees situation. Is that what it is? The trees for the forest?
I don't even know what it is.
What is it really?
Because forestry would speak to illusion, and persons just kind of not getting the right perspective. But this is a whole different kind of situation, because even you will go to the same place, like you go to get the $50 for the person. And remember, this is the digital world now, so every time you go, there is a track is left. So they know Pastor Percival picks up money for a member of his parish who has a particular need, and he gets it from so and so. It is there. And we talk about know your customer. You have to fill out forms, say who you are, so that they have a record of you. Yet you will go into the same institution time and again to do the same thing, and they treat you as if you have just arrived. You know how many times they say, may I have your driver's license?
Yeah.
No, remember,
every time you go, you have to give it to them.
Yeah, so remember now, that this is not about whether you are qualified to drive. This is about ID. So even if you have points on your license, or your license, you've been disqualified from driving in some way, that's not information that is relevant to them. Or if your license expired, they have it on record, so they will know that license. You're standing up there before them, and you're not changing because you're not a baby anymore. So you're not looking different every time you show up. Yet they will look at you and say, may I have your license? And some of them even physically copy it and staple it to the document and tell you that Bank of Jamaica require it. So that's not forest for trees. That is just stupidity. And I hope that's not an unwholesome word, because I let it come out of my mouth. But we are saying know your customer, know your client. But you are not allowed to act on that knowledge. You have no discretion. You can't say it, and the people doing it are telling you that it's because Bank of Jamaica requires it. And Bank of Jamaica tells you that they don't regulate what happens at the nitty-gritty of you and the financial institution. That is pursuant to the contract. So either people are lying to you, or people just don't know what they're doing and are doing whatever they feel like, for whomever they feel like, because that $1 billion US, it has come in. That's what this is not speculative. Mr. Chang says $1 billion US come in annually, and it is being used to buy guns and things, not to pay for food and hospital bills and to keep body and soul together for poor people.
No, but
they can't stop that, but they would stop you and me from doing small things.
It was in WhatsApp. There was this major transaction that went down.
Yep.
A man lose their work, a man get shift from bank, and out of it, banks were under the purview. And you don't hear anything about it?
No, 6 banks were being investigated for financial improprieties. Yeah. We've seen Alliance take the hit, but that's it. And you tell me it's Alliance alone, and Alliance was not a commercial bank. So some of the things that Alliance, even some of the crimes that Alliance pleaded guilty to, could not have been accomplished without the complicit, knowing participation of a licensed commercial bank in this country. And you see nothing of it, yet you can't do small things. So come on, we got to get it right. We're lying to ourselves, we're lying to each other, and the rest of us are like sheep, just milling around in the pasture like we don't know what to do.
Yeah, but
Second experience. Two things happened to me in one day. The enemy was really
fall after you, man.
the enemy
And you
was
saw the
really
good
working.
with all of them that things they were doing. The goodness of God was keeping you strong. So
Well,
the
it
glory.
has to. Well, it's gonna kick up a notch because I'm speaking out on it this morning. So I leave MoneyGram. I said to the person I said, don't worry. Thankfully, we were doing this. We're working in advance. I said, don't worry. Just sent a message to him. I said, just don't worry, don't rush. It will work out, whatever needs to be done. And I'm heading home. I stopped by my own commercial bank now to check on a business account because I had noticed that a certain transaction had been done and it looked like something went wrong. All right. So I just attended at the counter. Luckily, I walked into the bank. There was nobody there. I went right up to the counter and I said to the young man at the counter,
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I am checking a transaction that I saw on the account. I just want to know what is the cost. Is there a cost to process a check? Because I see where the account was charged $2,300 to process a check. And it has all the appearance that I couldn't understand it. Anyway, he got the number, he looked at the account, he is puzzled. It takes him a few minutes and a reference to one of his colleagues to say, what does this mean? I don't understand it. So let me tell you what happened now. A deposit was made to the account, but it was a check was deposited to the account on Friday. A check for a small amount it's not an active account. So a check for a smaller amount than what was deposited was put through the account. It's a business account, so this was something for the business. Small amount was put through the account. Apparently, the funds, the check that was deposited and the funds and the check that was drawn were being processed the same day. So when I looked at it, I thought, okay, it takes 3 business days for a deposited check to be honored and for the funds to be released. So I expect that by the time the other check, which was written on the 3rd day, by the time that check gets to the bank, the funds would have been released and they would go about their business. The bank, however, charged $2,300 and it said check processing charge. So I said, why would there be a charge when the funds were there? I learned 2 things. One, the bank says it doesn't take 3 days to process a check. It takes 4 days.
That was 3.
No, they said during COVID time, it was increased to 4 days. So I said, okay,
So
if it takes 4 days and a check is written on day 1, how is it that you have already cleared that check through my account to the extent now where you are treating it as having been cleared against uncleared effects? That was the explanations giving me. So I said, which check takes 4 days to clear? She stands looking puzzled. I said, no. I said, which check takes 4 days to clear? Because that check was deposited to my account on Friday and today is Wednesday evening and it's not clear yet. But the check that was written yesterday has already cleared. So which check takes 4 days to be cleared? That answer remained. So eventually I saw her difficulty and I said, listen, I know it's not your bank and it's not your business, and the truth of the matter is you do it all the time, but I just really wanted to have someone say to me. She said, well, she let me know that Bank of Jamaica approved this new business of checks taking 4 days to clear. And then I said, and you didn't even charge $500 or even $1,500. You charge $2,300. And she pointed me to something on the wall saying their charges have been increased. I walk out of the bank and I said, all right, let me tell you what we need. We need a people's bank. We need a bank that ordinary Jamaicans who agree that this is how they want their money to be kept and their business to be done can set up their account. It don't need to be no international bank trying to get money out of America or send money to America. It needs to be just a simple organization within our borders that keep our money and keep faith with us and is honest and simple and straightforward, and it is owned by the people. We need a people's bank. No, we're gonna say it's a cooperative society, or we're gonna say it is all kind of something, but it needs to be licensed to take deposit, provide savings accounts, and it needs to be a wholly domestic bank. It don't have nothing to do with America, where you're twisting yourself in the wind trying to ensure that, in fact, people will not have foreign exchange accounts in it. They'll only have Jamaican dollar account. Just a simple bank.
But I hear what you said. I'm in agreement with what you have said, but guess what happened? The credit unions, which was really the people's thing, their own it. Guess what has happened recently? They've been taken over and regulated by the BOJ. So anything that was left
So
outside,
the regulation by the BOJ is not a bad or an offensive thing, you know.
No.
The problem is, so for example, it's not the regulation that's a problem. The problem is when banks are being operated, let's use the word bank loosely. When financial institutions are being operated for profit, for the profit of shareholders who are not themselves the account holders, when it is being operated as a business that needs to compete against other similarly situated banks, all of the principles that surround its operation change, have a logic of its own. You forget about people. Credit unions are not banks, and they're not commercial banks, meaning they're not licensed to do certain type of business. They can hold deposits more than, well, you know the structure, it's membership, and the monies that you put in are treated in a particular way. Credit unions themselves have to find a bank. So if you are a bank that need a bank, you're not a bank.
That's true.
So I'm saying we need something in Jamaica that is just simple, clean, straightforward. You put your money, a certain amount of interest accrues on it if it is put out for other people's use. Pretty much like the credit union model, except that it is a bank in and of itself. It don't need no other bank to hold its money, to impose rules and conditions on it, beyond the central bank, whose role is to regulate the use and the treatment of the financial instrument, the money that is at use in the bank. We're gonna get there. I know we're going to get there.
But let me just say something to you in regards to what you have said. This move towards digitalization,
The digital economy.
yeah.
But how are you gonna have a digital economy, Percy, when the very institutions themselves are not using the data?
But they're not gonna use it because all their thing. Come on. All them I think about is make money, how much you can squeeze me out of people, unfortunately.
Because see what, if they were using the data, the problem I had yesterday, I wouldn't have had it.
No, you mean at
MoneyGram.
yeah,
I wouldn't have had that problem yesterday, because they would have been able to, they would have known my identity, because they would have been able to tap into. And that's really where you see people complain about NIDS. We're gonna do our NIDS thing. That's really where an integrated identification system makes sense, because you would know this is Minette Lawrence, she live here, so she work here, so she do something, whatever. Anything she does through a financial institution can be authenticated, verified, and you can find her if it was wrong. The other thing that we would get away from, financial institutions and their staff are having to become judge. Well, you start from police. They're having to be police, jury, judge, and executioner for every transaction that they deal with, and it should not be so. The fact of the matter is, you would learn a lot more if you allow Minette to take our money and have the capability to follow her and see what she really do with the money. That's how people build cases. That's why the FBI and the DEA are phenomenal throughout the world, for their ability and capacity to ultimately get their man. They are not distracted. This now is a forest and tree situation. They are not distracted by the tree. They know that it's a forest
Right, that's what I'm saying. So
all the time. No, in that context where you can so you're right about the forest and the tree, because you have the patience to say, all right, you come in, what you say you're going to do with the money? Pay light bill? Okay, let us see if JPS is gonna show on minutes account, because you're connected now. You can use the data, you know how to track the data.
which is and that's what I think is the downside for the whole NITS thing. What some people are
Downside,
connected.
upside.
The downside in terms of the people, because there's a whole thing of integrity of the people who are using the data. Is it for the good or is it for control? Is it to destroy? Yeah, and so we have to look at the pros and cons of what is happening, and then when you are educated, then you make a decision. But that what you have outlined is the everyday situation of hundreds and thousands of Jamaicans who
Yeah.
use the remittance services, and the people use the bank. Because I never knew it was 4 days. No, you have to
I just learned.
yeah, 4 days.
Well, I can
and that
tell
was
you,
approved by
and-
BOJ, and not no said. No sir.
Early
Forward.
saying that he had an experience in Jamaica. He said he didn't know, and I didn't know it either. I'm discovering. A black visitor to Jamaica can't change $50 Canadian at a bank in Mandeville and Portmore because that person don't have an account at those banks.
Yeah, that's true. If you have a traveler's check, you can't.
So where you change them?
I don't know.
Cambio? The Cambios will? Okay.
Probably.
All right. So now you see, we are absolutely existing in some very strange reality. And we
Alice,
got to do something
we're in
about it.
Wonderland,
Alice in Wonderland.
We're Alice in Wonderland
Yeah.
because the system is set up. So somebody who is white can come in with a traveler's check, no problem. But if you're black, it has happened to me because I traveled,
Yeah.
I traveler's check, never use them, I came
And come
home.
back and can't change
I
it.
can't change the traveler's check.
Oh, you'd have to
But
take it to Bank of Jamaica?
yeah, I told the bank that I went in, I think you could go to any bank and just change it.
Right.
So you don't have an account here, so you can't change
Yeah.
it. So I had to go to the bank where my account was at in order to change
Oh,
it.
Lord have
And this
mercy.
happened years ago. This is not a recent phenomenon.
Yeah. So the two things collided in my world yesterday. One, the rampant invasion of privacy and excessive intrusive, let me tell you, it was, you'd have to go through it
That's why
to
then
know
they
what
throw
it
down-
feels
that's
like.
why it was thrown down in the first
Ah, producer just provide the word for me. Demeaning, dehumanizing, undignified,
You're not supposed to have
inhumane.
that money, you're too black.
Or this is what you have to go through in order to get money. And I see lots of women are in there collecting money. This is the way you have to go to forget money. Keep your money.
Yeah,
I mean, somewhere in the midst of it.
But you remember, in the discussion yesterday,
Yesterday.
the gentleman was saying, don't let the US too hard, because that is how a lot of people are barely surviving. Somebody overseas, and it's like work.
Well, we need to find different ways for our people to survive,
Yes, sir.
because it really is not right that you should have to go through all of those things in order to receive money. Money? Come on. All right, let's go through a few other things, because remember now we have our JPS guest coming in a short while. So I kind of have the phrase money matters as a guide, because I want to return to what the experience and how we're going to solve some of these issues, to deal with this intrusion of privacy that takes place when you have to do financial transactions of a certain nature. And then the fact too that in the banking system, customer protection is at its lowest. And I asked the question, who will bail the cat? And I know it's the people going to have to bail the cat. The People's Bank, I speak it into being. I did ask the UIC president when he was here if he is thinking of a People's Bank, because some of the things that he said will never be done through the licensed commercial shareholder value thinking banks that are in Jamaica. So you're going to need to have some system that's going to cater to those who either not into digital currency and still want to use paper and coins, or those persons who have been rendered unbankable because all kinds of things have caused them to be rejected by the existing banking system, or they themselves have rejected that system. So that is a a
How much
topic
money
we're
you
gonna
have to
return
open an
to.
account? Because you go to
You can
most
open.
organizations
You
and
can open. You can. You know that an entity can establish a bank account with Bank of Jamaica. Because remember now, all of the licensed banks have to keep an account with Bank of Jamaica. You can open an account with Bank
an
of Jamaica
individual?
as an individual or a business, and you can also establish yourself to be able to issue your own checks and trade your own checks. I researched it when I was looking at some cannabis related issues. Yes, and I see my intern looking very her eyes just popped out. Yes, yes. There's no magic to how you can do certain things that will only operate within the domestic borders. In other words, there are things you can do where you're only using Jamaican money and you're only doing transactions within Jamaica.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to look at it because listen, man, the time has come. I walked out of it's Sagicor Bank. I walked out of Sagicor Bank yesterday, and I'm saying, Lord, what are you showing me? Because no experience is wasted, and I am a thinking person.
That's an important thing, you know.
So I said, what you're showing me? Yeah,
preparation for something.
Something we need to do, and I know that we're gonna do something to break the back of this particular dragon that is bringing us down. We're not trying to make money and profit or whatever. We just want to have a safe place in which we can conduct our business without being robbed, raped, terrorized, and made to feel as if we are less than human. Yesterday, between the two experiences, I felt less than human. I said, look at that. The bank is sitting on the money for 4 days because every bank apparently does their thing on the same day. They settle every day amongst each other. So they know that this money that was deposited to the account is good. They get my check and they honor it in 1 day, and they're telling me that it takes 4 days to clear a check. So I say, which check take 4 days? Can't be the one that we cleared in 1 day. And they say 4 clear days. So although it was deposited on Friday, they're saying to me it will be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So Thursday at midnight is when they will clear that check. And I will see the value on Friday. But the check that I issued was cleared within less than 24 hours. Yes, yes. They say it should take 4 clear days. Same account. They take 1 day. Less than 4 hours. Yes, yes. Yes. I'm telling you now that Bank of Jamaica approved for them to say to customers, I will not release funds to your account for 4 days. And they should emphasize business days. So it deposit on Friday. I say, I know you do work on Saturday. She said, just us. So deposit on Friday, but it must take Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday up to midnight, and then on Friday morning I would see the funds. But when my check comes into the bank, although they see that there is value in my account, they clear it the same day and charge me a processing fee of $2,300. It will. And the fees, well, I can tell you, my bank has figured out how to do it. $2,300, and they just charge you. You look at your account sometimes. That's why people say they look at there, and that's why I don't keep a lot of money in it. Because when you look at their accounts, they just take money out of it for fees. And if there's not enough money, they put it in overdraft. Something that the Bank of Jamaica told them they cannot do. You cannot put a person's account in overdraft for your fees and then charge interest on it because they've given you an overdraft. Hey, listen, man, we need a people's bank. All these experiences teach me that. All right, we're at the 8 o'clock hour, and there's one more thing to mention.
Money matter.
No, well, it is under the money matters. I see you're seeing my notes. It's under it, but it's wider. Even as our Minister of National Security has complained about this US $1 billion coming in, and it seems that the pressure is being put on the Jamaican side to address it. because we even now running trials in Jamaica where video link is being used to get the American complainant to give the evidence so that the Jamaican offender can be convicted. And that happened most recently. There was a jury trial in St. Catherine. The DPP was celebrating the jurors, the same jurors who the Chief Justice said we need to get rid of jurors. Those jurors apparently delivered to the satisfaction of the DPP and convicted an accused lotto scammer. Now a convicted lotto scammer. We're seeing that America is not under the gun, and pun intended, to curb some of the things on their side. The pressure is all on our side. I got the signal to break, so I'm not going to transgress any further. Please stay with us. We're going to be right back. When we return, we should also be joined by our guest from JPS.
The Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. Talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. The Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. Talk show. discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on the Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on the Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM.
somewhere right behind me.
Good morning. Welcome back to our program. Right behind us, we are raining mangoes. That's why Minute came back with that, you know. But As we've been talking about money matters, the Word of God says money answers all things. But the love of money, not money, the love of money is the root of all evil. Let's be reminded of that, because people think that money is evil. It's not evil. Money is a tool and an instrument that in the hands of the right person can effect so much good. Don't you agree, my friend?
I agree, and that is why I said People's Bank, where the love is spread out so thinly.
Yay!
The love is spread out so thinly that it doesn't become a distraction. Meaning, when ownership of the bank is concentrated in too few hands, those few are constantly looking at, well, just
Loving
what
it
is
so
the
much,
value.
how much you can get
They love
more.
it so much,
I'm
absolutely.
getting money, I
But
want more,
yeah, but
more,
when a million
more.
of us, own the bank, yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
It becomes different. So I mean, there was a
Madam JPS go right
yeah.
on time.
Is it right on time, or should be at 8:30? 8:30. So we have 12 minutes. But it's wonderful to see her so punctual. Good morning and welcome. All right, let me get the name so I could just remind you. Right. So in a very short while, we are going to be welcoming our JPS representative. I'm not even sure why.
Yeah, so let's finish the money business.
I like it's more than the money business. It continues to be a matter of news that US remains trenchant, firm, unbending, inflexible. US is the US on their position that Cuba and Venezuela are not to be included in the upcoming summit of the Americas. Mind you, they were the ones who initiated this thing. They started it, the summit. So I suppose it's their meeting, and they maintain a very tight hand on who is invited.
Mm-hmm.
But the other invited guests are equally determined that if you're inviting us to your house to discuss business that affects all of us, then you need to invite all of us.
Yeah, but
Not a bad position.
It's
We
kind of
saw.
interesting, though. Let me tell you why.
You're gonna talk about Prime Minister Holness inviting the Maroons, except for Chief Curry.
No, me never go down this.
Oh, because it looked like it's a strong man position.
No, but let me look at
Yeah.
it though. US, because of what's happening with oil, behind the scenes are big Venezuela for some high. But they are saying,
Yeah.
you're not coming, but we want your oil. Come on, we're better than that.
So you're saying it kind of typical because we've done it all the time where somebody is good enough to be used for some purpose that suits you.
Sound like a man and a woman.
Yes.
I
yes.
never went there. I just said,
Yeah, but it's very typical. Yeah, man. Good. She can wash your clothes and clean the car, but when it is time to go for dinner, you gotta bring out the bigger guns.
Oh boy.
All right, but I gotta mention something about guns because our Minister of National Security has rightly said that all this illegal money that comes in is then used
It's funneling
to
the gun
purchase
violence.
to purchase guns and to carry out illegal activities. So we're seeing a direct connection. We're seeing the direct connection between this illicit money and the activities that are causing problems.
Can I say
for
something
us.
about that? I was talking
Yes.
to somebody I know very well. Let me say, he's a bearer. So I said to him, Bridget, you drive car now? And want to the bike? Him said, no, the man them in my ear just kick off. I said, the man them from down there, sir, can come up here, sir, or vice versa. So me say, what is the root cause of the why? Him say, boss, I don't know, because the two of them are friends. And them just decide, say, I saw the thing I go.
There's a boundary.
Yeah, and I'm saying to myself, so you have lived in this area for this very long time, and you must know the runnings. Cause I know the runnings, but him said there's no way. So he has to be doing. Him out try doing work, and it look like him there on camouflage. Say nowhere the bike, him no drive the bike. Him drive a different car and him move different cars so them can't. And
So
so penny.
the turf wars are always connected to the economics of whatever business they conduct.
Yeah,
So
but-
somebody is impinging on somebody else's turf.
let him say he don't understand. Cause him say two brethren from long time, and them just start fight, and it's been going on, and
So would you please relate that to me, for me, to the business of the
because I'm saying a lot
the
of
snubbing
times,
of Cuba and Venezuela?
no, you had moved on to the connection between the
between,
money
yes,
and drugs and the scamming.
right.
And I'm saying some of the times we have pointing fingers at scamming in terms of the turf war and the gun war, but some of the time I don't relate to it at all.
Yeah.
The two man them not have no money at all. Them just have access to gun and them just kill off each other.
Yes, so the economics of that one is not connected to scamming and
it's not.
Yeah. All right. So a couple of things I wanted to pull together, because yesterday we were talking about the power of America in terms of her influence on how policy is set, and our shaky hold on our sovereignty in the way that we frequently just, some say we are bullied, but I believe that we don't, we take easy, we oftentimes take the path of least resistance.
We never try.
Yes, one man called and said Michael Manley stood firm on some issues. Yes, we paid a price for it, but in the end we kept our dignity, because when apartheid fell and when certain other things happened, Jamaica could rightly say we were, yes.
Michael Manley said no.
Yeah.
And he did what he had power over.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, some of the times we have power and things that we can control. Never bother try to control it.
We cede and we just give up altogether.
Yeah, we just the forest.
Right.
And remember, well, the secretary is a part of the forest, so we can impact what the secretary do.
Absolutely, yeah. And if this little tree is gonna be nutrition for somebody else to fight a bigger fight, then I will make the sacrifice. Someone said that maybe my stiff resistance to the U.S. in the days when I was defending the Universal Access Fund is what eventually led to the stamping on my neck.
Could be not.
It could be, but
we
you know
trust
what?
in God.
And if it is so, I would say it is a worthy sacrifice, because look what the Universal Service Fund is doing now, even though it is still not doing what it should do, but at least it is being a blessing in some areas. Here's the point I wanted to make, and we only have a few more minutes. So we have this wealth of money coming into the country through channels that even the minister himself is saying these are illicit funds, shouldn't be here. We have the USA holding firm in its decision to exclude Cuba and Venezuela from a summit that is discussing matters pertaining to the region.
And those two countries are power brokers, control oil, health.
And so while we are being pressured to join with the U.S. on its position, we seem unable to get the U.S. to do anything that would affect gun control laws in America. America being notorious for two things. One, the damage it is doing to itself with this out of control gun violence that they have. And if you notice, we talk about when you turn on your own self, their children are killing their children.
Part of the judgment.
Yes.
Some people have related it to the taking of God out of the schools.
I think so. Just like how when you have teachers dropping dead in an unprecedented fashion in our system, you have to look at the system and say, how are we damaging ourselves to the point where we are reaping the bitter fruit of it? So at Jamaica, the CARICOM international community has an opportunity, as it bends to the lobby of the West or the bullying tactics of USA, to themselves seek to influence policies that affect us. The flow of money into Jamaica, the flow of guns into Jamaica that are of US origin is something that should be tackled on both sides. We don't seem able to get them to do anything. We're just always being under pressure to curb something that is coming into our country. We've seen that Canada banned the sale of handguns in their country. So you see Canada doing something. America remains insistent on having her cake and eating it too. So you know the bellyache from that spiritual cake is gonna be intense.
All right. So okay, finish. I have a comment that I need to make. Go ahead.
So all I'm saying here is that while we are looking for the ways in which we can have an impact on what America does, because America is ensuring that it has an impact on what we do, we can look at those areas and ask for the things that could really make a difference. As I said to you in my financial shenanigans yesterday, it was MoneyGram International on the US side that said, we are not sending this transaction, don't look right. Whether it's because they never liked me on the Jamaican side or because they thought what he was doing was risky and he was being manipulated, or they were suspecting identity theft because the transaction he was doing he had never done before. Whatever it was, they said, no, this is high risk, don't do it. So America does everything to protect its own side of the deal. But Jamaica is left twisting in the wind with all kinds of regulations and standards that at the end of the day operate to the detriment of the innocent. That's my full piece. Your turn.
I'm just thinking, and I start from a position which is in Acts 17:26, that every nation, every peoples have come about, not because of themselves, but because in God's divine order and thing, He caused those nations, so ultimately they'll bring glory and honor to Him. Even your process of self-determination, if you are aligned to what it is that Father has said, you know that He makes a way even when you seem to have so many factors and things working against you.
Yeah.
And that to me is so important, because you have to understand and have an identity of who you are and what you'll do and what you will not do. And so really, as a people, we have to come to a place that the people are educated enough that they understand what the real issues are, and they will not bow or bend themselves to something that is so foreign and against who they are. Jamaicans are people who think about justice, and if we really think about it hard, a lot of Jamaicans would say it is unjust for Cuba and Venezuela not to be a part of this summit, simply because of the impact they have had on the region and how many countries they have helped. You think about Cuba in terms of donation of schools and personnel to a lot of countries,
healthcare personnel in particular,
and the fact that they have provided opportunities for a lot of people are doing well who have gone to Cuba to study. You're thinking of also Venezuela with the Petrocaribe Fund, when nobody was looking about us, they on their own reached out and says, let's do this. And then the greatest thing about their oil business or prosperity that they had, you get it at below market range, and then you get it, you borrow back the money and get as a loan that you could invest in social infrastructure, which is very important. So as a matter of principle, I think then the Jamaican government, we don't know if they're going or not going, need to say no, man.
Well, so far CARICOM has said they won't go if the others are not included. And the US is lobbying powerfully for them to change, for CARICOM to change that position. Of course, Jamaica broke ranks with CARICOM not so long ago, so
you don't even know what is happening.
You don't know what is happening.
There's another thing that is happening. The Biden administration is left of center. So you would have expected them to say, Cuba and Venezuela need to come, because now they're on their knees to Venezuela. Say, can we get some, like they lifted the sanctions on the company that operated in Venezuela and said they can operate again. So it's a kind of mix up. That is why in everything you must have a principle that you stand on. Whatever the situation, this is the principle. And if principle don't drive you, you're going to get into problem, because it's what is going to be expedient for you in the situation. And expediency cannot drive the way that you do governance and how you operate your business, your family, and so on. It must be on a principled way of doing things. What do you think?
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
100%. I take nothing from it. I add nothing to it.
yeah, because we have to operate
Yeah,
on a
you're
principle
and
position.
yeah, the point you made. Where did you go again? Ephesians. What was it? 27, verse 27. You started with a scripture. I only remember verse 27.
Oh, when I started this morning,
No, just in that segment.
I don't remember.
No. All right. I'm gonna show you something. Would you believe it? Deglobalization. Deglobalization is here. We've been fighting ourselves up about
Globalization.
globalization. Well, I tell you, the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, has caused people to recognize that rampant deglobalization was not a good idea. Well, I feel very prophetic when it comes to that, because while globalization, meaning large firms became
Running things across it.
multinationals who
The term.
became more powerful than governments
Yeah.
because of their impact on your economy, your workforce, your quality of life based on the services they provide. For example, a lot of energy companies are global companies. Marubeni, that has a share in our own JPS, is a global company. What that means is the little business that they do in some of their markets doesn't shift their bottom line, so they are able to take positions and adopt policies and pursue courses that can affect the politics of a country. As you know, things like energy, technology, or communication are lifeblood for a nation, right up there with food, because you even need those things to be able to distribute food and to cultivate, process, and handle food. So any firm or enterprise that touches those parts of your market, those parts of your economy, become like a god to you. They can set the terms for their involvement in your nation. So when multinationals are spread all over the world in their global effort, they become equal to, or many times greater than, the governments of the countries in which they do business. So we saw
Use that power.
and they use that power. So we've seen globalization on a rampant increase, to the extent where some of our labor markets are
And then
I would say, largely dependent on these globally owned, not globally owned, on these privately owned global enterprises. The business process outsourcing industry, for example, the work that gets done in all those offices all over the place, those contracts are coming out of firms, companies that don't operate in your country. So whenever they want to pull that work, they can pull that work knowing
somewhere
that
else.
they just carry it somewhere else, and your suffering, your plight, your resistance, your protest does not affect them one bit. You don't have to walk on the street with one of them. They fly in, take their decision, and fly out. They don't even fear for their safety because they're not here. So globalization had its high points, but COVID-19 revealed a lot of its low points,
God
and that
wins in the
was
end.
a focus at the World Economic Forum, which was recently held.
Davos. Which
Davos.
our Prime Minister attended
Yes.
previously.
Yes, and they were looking at, there was a very interesting article in yesterday's Financial Gleaner, written by Joseph E. Stiglitz. If you have a chance to read it, a Nobel laureate in economics, a university professor, Columbia University in the U.S.
Love it.
I read his article, and it was repeating things I had written years ago when I was looking at the impact of liberalization in the telecommunication sector on the Jamaican economy first, and then later I expanded it to look at what was doing in Caribbean economies.
Guess what has happened?
It's time for a break.
God wins in the end.
Always. Let's take our break. When we come back, we are going to
Very
welcome,
beautiful.
yes, our guest from JPS. We'll introduce her properly when we return from our 8:30 break. Please stay with Good morning and welcome back. We are so pleased to welcome to our set, well, our friend now, because we got to know her, well, Percy got to know her
Jesus.
quite well in the 2 minutes since she's been seated. She's no other than Miss Marilyn McDonald. She's the Community Renewal Manager for JPS. So you've fallen in love and got accustomed to seeing Winsome, and Winsome says, all right, I want you to miss me. So she has sent her, I'm not going to say her substitute, because your area of expertise, what you do for JPS, is substantial and important, and from it have the word community in it, you know we're going to love you, because we're all about building from the community level. So while the plane is traversing overhead, helicopter, someone going to work, it's about that time. I want to also introduce my mango. I'm still seeing the screensaver. So I don't know if anyone is seeing my mango. Yeah. Now this mango is truly Jamaican. I am not sure of its precise pedigree. It is out of many one mango.
It's a Mughal mango.
Look at it. It's just a beautiful mango. It fell while we were having the show. So it's a Morning Connection mango. And to Earl Brown, who said we could sell the mangoes $5 per pound in Canada, this mango would have to fetch a higher price.
Right.
So let me put it aside. So we've introduced the mango, and now we're going to turn our full attention to Miss Marilyn. Welcome, Marilyn.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much.
The Morning Connection is very pleased with the fact that JPS has chosen to journey with us as we try to bring up the awareness of our customers. I said before that we are very big on working from the community base, so I am going to start with that. What does the Community Renewal Manager do?
Okay, morning to your guests. So the Community Renewal Manager or the Community Renewal Division, it's really where we merge technical solutions with social intervention so that we can offer service to our customers. So, you know, as I have mentioned, technical, we're talking about the technical infrastructure, poles, meters, transformers. In terms of social, it means intervention, community engagement, engaging partners.
Learning
today,
yes,
you know,
because
learning about your customer and yes.
So actually going out into the communities and engaging and just having persons, you know, stakeholder relations, and just having persons get themselves in readiness to come on board as customers.
I interacted with them while I worked at Professional Development Institute, where what they did was to sponsor persons in terms of their education, because we had offered skills training.
We do that, yes.
All right, and so we were one of the agencies that use in terms of training persons from the community. It was a Maxfield area, so we had a lot of people at the end of it were skilled and moved on in terms of
and could therefore pay their light bill.
Yes.
That was it.
Yes.
I love the straight line.
Yes, it's interesting that
Straight
you
line
should say that,
calculation.
because we're in a partnership now with the JPS Foundation, where we're actually training some at-risk youths, you know, in terms of skill sets, solar installation and electrical installation.
Oh, that's
so
beautiful.
We're it's just interesting that you should mention that, because we actually had their orientation yesterday.
We're prophetic.
Yes.
May I ask you, how old is that division in JPS?
This division came out about 2015.
Okay, so it's fairly new.
Yeah, fairly new.
Yeah, but I have no doubt that it became a reality because you saw the need for it.
Yes, definitely. So, you know, what would have happened, JPS has been experiencing losses due to electricity theft for several years. And our whole intervention mainly was through technical or brute force. You go into communities, you tear down the wires.
Police is with you.
Police is with
Everybody
you.
hate you.
Yes, and you see the demonstrations and stuff like that. So we realized that what we should do is really engage more and have partnerships. So it was through partnerships that we said, let us merge with the government, external stakeholders, to see how we could get customers on board. So that's what.
Yeah, we spoke, you heard.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. So there's a promotion that you want to talk about this morning. And it seems to be right in the vein of answering a need.
Definitely. definitely.
All right, you define the need. I know the need.
Don't you know it well?
You tell me what need is being met by this promotion. It's an exciting promotion too. So
Yes, thank you. So really the promotion is called Spin to Win, Go Prepaid and Done. So that's our tagline.
Spin to win,
go prepaid
go prepaid and
and
done.
And
done.
done.
Yes.
So we're trying to engage customers to actually sign up to be prepaid customers. So over the years, our main way of delivering electricity was through postpaid metering. You get a bill, you pay, and we found that persons went into a lot of arrears because they're not monitoring their consumption. They see this big bill come and then they can't afford to pay. So with the Go Prepaid promotion, we're actually promoting energy management in the form that persons who become customers now, they can manage. So you pay as you go. So you're able to monitor your consumption. So just like how you have a phone and you buy the credit and you top up and then you get the user coin. So I mean the usage for the phone is a similar thing with the prepaid. So you buy your credit, you top up, you use your electricity, you monitor to see that it's going out, you top up, use the electricity. So you don't have a surprise bill at the end of the month. So that's pretty much how it is in terms of Go Prepaid and Done. So we're encouraging customers, sign up to become a customer as a prepaid customer. You use at least 120 kilowatt hours per month. So
You manage your bill.
You manage your bill and you get the chance to win. Every month we have, and that's how the Spin to Win
yes,
come
the
in.
spin to win.
Yes, about 5 persons are selected to be winners. They get
Come
us.
inside.
Oh,
They
so
come
they-
inside, you
okay.
spin, and you get a choice to win 5 different prizes.
So the odds are really favorable to the names that go into the barrel.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so it's not like 1,000 names are gonna go in and it's 1 in 1,000.
No, it's not. No.
Okay, you know what?
You have to be
That's
so the whole thing is, if you are a prepaid customer before, are you a part of this promotion or you have to sign up now?
You would have to sign up now. So the promotion actually started May 1, and our first draw is this week.
Okay.
Yes, and then so the new set, sign up this month and you're in the draw for the end of this month. So we'll be doing it until the end of November. Every month, 5 persons get to win prizes, and then we have a grand draw the end of November, the first week of December, and you get the chance to win $2
$2 million. So who are the persons eligible for the grand draw?
So the persons eligible for the grand draw, once you remain a customer, prepaid customer, and you're topping up, average 120 kilowatt hours, and that's because it's a minimal for the basic plans.
Yes.
You're automatically entered into the grand draw.
Okay, so even if
become eligible.
no, that's why I asked her.
No.
Any prepaid customer
any prepaid,
who
so
is
if 500 stays on,
stay on the
Yes.
yes.
you
So the
get-
odds are a little greater or less in your favor, but you still have a chance.
Yes, and
So-
remember, every month you
Yeah.
still get a chance. Once you come on that month and you remain consistent.
So the new persons have 2 chances. Because the new person
Yes.
has a chance for the month they come on, and they will be in the grand draw at the
Right.
end of the period.
Right.
You see how I'm following it? You know that I want to be in it.
Definitely.
You have to be in it to win.
Yes. So I've been talking
To
to
win some.
I've been talking to my family about let's try out a prepaid thing because of course I am very interested in energy management.
Definitely.
But my fear is that in the middle of the night the power will go because my money ran out.
Yay!
Oh, we have that covered.
Tell me how that is covered.
What happens is that you would say, you call it emergency credit.
Yes.
So once you can monitor when your money is going to run out.
Right.
So you can always top up. So we also encourage persons to download the My GPS app on their phone. So right there you can buy the credits.
Yes.
Also, say it is that you don't have the My GPS app and you run out, what you can do, you can call our call center and we give you like overnight credit.
That is the
And then-
emergency
Yeah,
credit.
so that is
Okay.
emergency credit, and then by the following morning you go to whichever outlet
All right.
you buy.
So there are a couple of things that's critical in being able to navigate this beyond 30 days, because some people will try it and give up, and when you give up, you can switch back to your postpaid.
Yes, but we don't encourage that. You're gonna stick with it though, because our experience is that the persons who go prepaid, they
love it.
Yeah, they stay
Yeah.
prepaid
They have
because
better control.
yes, because
Yeah.
they have better control. There's the surprises are not there at the end of the month, and that's been our experience mainly.
Well, what is good in your response is it tells me that you have made a commitment corporately, internally, to help people through the teething pains and the frustration that might arise if the first month is
Yes.
frustrating.
Yes.
So the points of frustration that I see, and this is what I want to pull out. If you're not sufficiently literate in the use of the app and the various things, you might not do so well with your first experience, and you might become frustrated. So it does require some awareness of how to navigate the app. I know the app is fairly easy to move through, but you have resources available to help customers who may have a difficult time.
Well, definitely, as you'd have mentioned, there is a 1, 2, 3 as to how you download the app. But also, say you don't use the app while we're promoting the app, the same way you buy phone credit from a nearby store, the gas station, that Go machine, you can just go there and buy credit and
you
say
serious?
yes,
Cash.
yeah, cash.
Take your
Even
cash.
if they take the cards, right? So you just go there and say, okay, I want $500 worth of GPS credit, and you take it, you put it on your phone, the two options, or you go home and you put it. Some persons are given what you call a CIU, a customer interface unit, that is in your house. You just put in the receipt number and ta-da! The electricity.
Okay.
So-
I feel like I should just try it,
Yes,
just
you
to experience it.
To help with better control,
Yeah.
better budgeting, and somebody was saying. So would you say the system that you have, it is similar to what you have in England?
I realize persons are comparing it to it. So I know that a lot of times when
Yes, I even got a question
we
online.
speak about it,
Oh, dear.
customers relate it to the system that is in England. Yes.
Okay, put in the coin and you have your.
Yes.
So they're metered service for like gas. In fact, when I was in Barbados had a metered service for gas that comes in, for cooking and so on. I remember that. So it pretty much is in line with known technology.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's why it take them so long.
Okay, so Pastor want to know why
Why
it
took
took
you guys so long to come up with this prepaid system?
You have to do your benchmarking and your investigations to make sure we offer the right service to our customers, and we have finally hit it. So we're
You're running, hit it and running.
Yeah, we're running with it.
Okay, all right. Can I ask you, in terms of the community renewal, what other projects are you doing presently in the community?
Alright, so presently we're changing out infrastructure. So you know that in some of our communities, as I have mentioned, we would be changing out the infrastructure that we figure has been tampered with to
Okay.
a more reliable infrastructure called the AMI infrastructure, automated metering infrastructure. So we're doing that. We're going through and we're promoting energy management. We're engaging now some of our schools in terms of energy management with our children. We also have competitions called Race to Save Energy. So there are communities that would have been a part of a project. We've identified persons who are interested to say, okay, I can conserve, and it's a competition. You get the prize to win a refrigerator, television, and persons actually conserve and prove that they can conserve without stealing electricity, and that is done. We have partnerships now presently with the government of Jamaica through the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, where there are communities that they are benefiting from house wiring assistance. So you'll have persons who have that challenge to
wire their house.
wire their houses. So we're now working alongside the Ministry of Local Government and the Jamaica Social Investment Fund based on their recommended communities that they get this offering, and these persons become customers within GPS.
Yeah.
So you're moving from a T-flat to
What pay as you go.
Right, and as I mentioned, partnership, social intervention, because we realize that there are challenges out there, so we're trying to see how best we can meet the needs of our customers.
So are some of these initiatives national initiatives, or they focus on the communities where you have the greatest difficulties?
Well, for the Go Prepaid and Done, that is national. Or yeah, we're doing that wide scale. But for the coming to renewal mainly, we're trying to target mainly the persons that are vulnerable. In term, that's what we that to have
JCF
that
communities, because they have about 30 communities island-wide that they're focusing on. You're
Right.
working in those communities?
We are working with JCF, as I mentioned. They were our partners from the initial point when we started up. But there are over 100 communities that you'd consider to be the PRP communities. And that's
What
a
is
PRP.
PRP? Yes,
That's
please.
a poor relief program.
Okay.
Yeah, around
Poverty
reduction program,
right.
So those we realized that JPS, where we are having our high losses, it is similar to where we have these communities with the needs when we did our assessment. So we target several communities on a yearly basis to have this community renewal program.
Okay. So the PR Poverty Reduction Program is a program that JCF is doing. JCF is a government organization
Yes.
that deals with social intervention. So what you have discovered is that where there are JCF assigned communities, you have a similar trend in
Yes.
terms of
Losses.
Okay.
Through technical losses, non-technical losses through theft.
Okay. But that's interesting. So
But not surprising.
No, it's true. It makes sense. So, do you have any numbers? You started the program in May. You must have set targets. And where are you? 30% above, 30% below in terms of the people, in terms of your customer base that have shifted and moved on to prepaid.
Okay, for the month of May to date, we are at just about 600 customers that would have come on through, and also we have our ambassador engagement program that they would have helped us. So we engage persons from within the community that goes door to door to encourage persons to become regularized customers. So those persons also automatically come
on board
into the pool.
Okay. So you have any targets? Like you have a customer base of
Definitely,
50,000 persons.
We're looking to, well, when it's said about approximately 200,000 persons, they are not legally on the grid. So based on statin, information is saying that 800,000 persons have access to electricity, right? We're seeing
your
our
customer base.
600,000. So this year we have a target of about 7,000 persons that we're trying to
bring in
on the grid. So we're doing it, but we would like more, at least 10,000.
Naturally.
But our target right now, we're looking at about 7 to 10,000.
Do you think the government copay subsidy system will make a difference in terms of just incentivizing persons to regularize their arrangements?
It probably will. I notice persons, once they get an incentive, they will come on board. The program also, it's good because I think it's within 4 months.
Yes.
So it should encourage persons to say, I will get this relief. And also during that time, JPS will be there with the energy management, kind of holding their hands to see, we're not going to leave you alone.
Right.
We're going to work with you. And know that they would have enjoyed legal electricity stability in terms of service, they should remain customers.
Yes, and they could see how feasible, how attainable it is.
Yes,
because
definitely.
4 months is a good period of time too. Well, how long does it take person to relearn, to get rid of a bad habit and learn a new habit?
6 weeks.
There you go. So 4 months should do it. Yes.
Yes. And
So,
with these prizes,
And with the prizes and the surprises.
definitely.
Yeah, good. All right. So tomorrow is your drawing. The first 5 customers for me.
Yes, yes.
So where is it gonna be held?
Well, we'll be doing
On
it at
TV.
our see it on TV. We'll be airing it on TV the following week, though. That's the
Okay.
12th of
TVJR, CVMR.
TVJ,
Okay.
and it also will be printed after, so you'll be seeing
Yeah.
the winners actually doing their spin to win.
Okay.
Yes.
So what are the prizes? You can get a new spin, you can get a new motor car, and
Are you making up your own prizes?
First, we'll get there.
I give you one guess what person won.
Yeah.
I can get one of the toy ones.
But for right now, the prizes are a weekend for 2 of a prize.
Any place of your choice, or
No, right now we're looking in St. Anne at the Bayer Principal Hotel.
beautiful choice of parish?
Yes, and we have smart TV.
Okay.
We have a smart cell phone. Also, supermarket shopping spree
Okay.
For a value
of
of
$30,000.
Wow.
not bad.
And also top up in terms of credit for $30,000. So you have
Meaning JPS credit.
JPS credit.
Okay.
Yes.
When you say credit these
Yes,
days.
JPS credit. So those are the
Well,
five.
that's
Those are
Good
nice
prizes,
prizes.
yeah.
Are they the same prizes every month?
Yes,
or?
we are trying to keep it consistent
Yes, okay.
every month.
Certainly in value, but you
Yes.
know, clearly Percy would like a $30,000 car.
We're working on that one.
He'll get a car wash. Something like that. Could wash his car. So who are the partners now? Just asking for a friend. Who are the partners for the purchase of JPS credit?
Okay, so most gas stations you go to,
Yeah.
they have it. That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
That Go machine, the same machine that you see they buy the top up credit.
Right.
And the same machine when you go to buy your gas, that same machine you can buy it from.
Right. So any vendor
Yes.
of the existing products.
Definitely. Paymaster, Bill Express. So
Gas
the
station.
gas stations, and you also what's happening that there are persons within the community that have come on as vendors.
As vendors.
So they do-
Wow.
yes.
So that means to the same thing you can do. Can you send credit to a friend?
we can actually no. We try to
Beg you
to
some
make-
light.
No, For it links to your meter, so we want to control that. But the good thing about difference with ours and the telephone credit,
Right.
ours don't expire. Can you manage that?
Right.
So the telephone credit will expire, but the JPS credit doesn't
Bring you
expire.
some light, my friend.
Listen, you know what? I'm gonna prophesy for you. I bet you the next version is where you can
some light.
fragment and sell some credit or give some credit. I bet you it's
Yeah,
gonna
we'll
come.
speak to our vendors and see
Yeah,
what that
bring you
goes.
some credit. Like you can send credit to somebody. If I have your meter number, I
Yes.
can send credit to it.
Absolutely.
Phone number.
Help out a friend.
Yeah,
I need a
man.
night.
Hey.
Yeah, that's why we have our call center and my GPS app and get it easily.
All right, thank you. You've brought out good humor as well as a lot of good information.
Thank
We're gonna
you.
take our we're like 9 o'clock on the dot. I was gonna say we're gonna take our 8:59 break now because that's what my clock is saying. We're gonna take our break now, and then when we return, we could just wrap up and of course, thank you. You've already made such a lively difference to
Thank
the
you
morning's
so much.
proceedings.
Thank you.
Yeah. People call for it and say, "Send me some JPS credits."
Yeah.
You can see it. You know it's going to happen. It's
Yeah.
Jamaica.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
'Cause
I'll find some way.
If I have your phone number and you send me WhatsApp your phone number to me, I can buy the credit and send
Put it on you. Yeah.
Is that true?
Yes.
Yes.
The Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Lynette and Percy, on the Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. Not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Lynette and Percy, on the Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM.
see?
Well, welcome back to the Morning Connection. We are now saying our goodbyes to Miss Marilyn McDonald, Community Renewal Manager from our friends at JPS. JPS is my friend now. JPS been doing some things that we're building relationship.
Definitely.
We're family. Well,
We are
not so sure
family.
yet. But the Spin to Win promotion that you have initiated to bring more prepaid customers on board, I expect it to be a great success for you.
Thank you.
So-
Thank you. We're really looking forward to that.
Yeah, stick with it. I think it will do a lot of things for Jamaicans over and above just energy management. We struggle with digital literacy. We struggle with financial literacy.
Yes.
And you have done something that it really has brought the two things together.
Both things together.
Yes, we got to learn how to budget and to focus on the priorities and stay on top of it, you know.
Definitely.
I jokingly said to you that JPS has become its own bank. I won't tease you anymore on that. But it's not a bad thing because you can maintain better control and communication with your customers.
Yes, definitely.
Right. Well, thank you very much for sharing with us. I will permit you to just go ahead and repeat the highlights of the promotion and make sure you get a car lined up for when Pastor Percival comes on board.
Great. We're working on that. So, thank you for that. So, we're encouraging persons who want to become customers of GPS to sign up as prepaid customers. You just go to our nearest JPS office, or you can go online on using the My GPS app and tick on the prepaid contract and sign up to be a prepaid customer. We want you to do it now. We're running a promotion over the next 6 months for persons who sign up to be customers and you purchase credit of at least 120 kilowatt hours. So that's roughly looking at about $1,850 per week in terms of consumption, and you automatically become eligible to go in the monthly draw or the monthly spin. So we will be choosing 5 winners each month. You get the chance to spin to win. So when you spin to win, you can either win a weekend for 2, a smart television, a cellular phone, a shopping spree of $30,000, and also top up credit from JPS the value of $30,000. So you stay consistent over the 5 months, you get a chance to win again to become the winner in our grand draw spin to win, which will be the first week of December, where you're allowed to win $2 million. And during all of this, you're managing your consumption. You're now enjoying reliable service of JPS. You're a customer of JPS, and we're just looking forward to that relationship. So go out now, spin to win, go prepaid, and done.
All right.
All right.
Yes, well done.
Thank
And I'll get my car.
We'll work on that for next
Yay! Car for Pastor and done. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Gosh, there's just one question begging to be asked. Entertain me. Is there any eligibility requirement to sign up?
Okay, so you just need to be, you need an ID. So once you have an ID, you have to have a TRN number. So I think those are like
ID and TRN.
ID, TRN. And for you may be asked in instances to show that you're owner of the property.
You live somewhere.
Right, you live somewhere. However, we do have something going where if you cannot show the actual proof of ownership, like the land title or the tax
Or a lease agreement.
yeah, we have something known as a conditional contract, and that means that if there is a justice of the peace who is aware that you own the property, because you know you have persons that are going through the process, once they can attest that you're the legal owner of the property, you can sign a conditional contract. So a letter is written from the justice of the peace stating that I am aware that Mary Jane or Tom Strokes is the owner of the property at such and such a location. However, as I said, it's conditioned. If it is Mr. Todd show up a year or so later and say, I did not, that this is my place, I didn't put it there, we have no choice but to disconnect. All right, so
Well,
just
when the money run out, that's it.
so we just encourage persons to be with their ID, TRN, your TRN, and your proof of ownership. And if you don't have that, also we can sign a conditional contract.
But that means that if I own a premise,
I know why the question was begging to be asked.
yeah, and
We couldn't resist it.
and somebody's renting my place, they would have to have something for me to say I'm the owner, but
Yes.
I'm allowing them.
Letter of permission
Yeah.
from the
Okay.
owner.
Okay, so it's the same thing then.
Yes.
You're doing a postpaid contract.
Yes, definitely. Similar requirements.
Consent. All right.
And you can't beg
I
out.
wanted to ask. I asked it because I really don't want people to show up and say, I heard on Best FM that I can do this. And when they go, they get ends of grief because they can't complete the sign-up process. And that's really why
There's one
I
thing I missed though.
Yes.
It has to be certified by a licensed electrician. Ensure
yes,
that
yes.
you get the certification by a licensed electrician.
And that is if it's your first, it's the first
If it's
time
the
that
first,
premises is
yeah,
getting a meter.
yes, first time.
Okay.
Licensed electrician and a GER inspector. It has to be certified. We don't want to work burning down or anything like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
we just want to ensure.
What's that?
It's a government electrical regulator.
Okay.
That's a new name now. So there are private inspectors that go now after it's wired by a licensed electrician just to pass and sanction and say yes, it is okay, it's legal. You can now go to JPS and
All
sign
right.
a contract.
So now you're tempting me to say one thing. It will not be a question because I wouldn't expect you to know this, really. But there have been reports in the past about how long it takes for this government regulator to inspect and pass places. So
That has
persons, that has improved.
Yes, definitely. The difference now is that before it would go into I want to be political, right?
Yes.
The government in the GEI system, all right, but now
Yeah,
it is
outsourced
all
thing.
automated, it's privatized. So once the difference now, the inspector is not sending to the government electrical inspectorate and then they assign someone to come and inspect it. You go online, they have an online portal where you go online, you select the electrician you want, you select the government electrical inspector that you want, and as soon as he goes to your location and does it automated, within 2 or so days it is in the JPS system.
Okay.
So
Join that
send-
government.
All right,
Yes.
so I'm gonna suggest that JPS consider helping with the cost of getting these never been on the grid customers on the grid, because so far it might prove that the cost to get yourself
On the
ready, might slow down the effectiveness of your
That's what
initiative.
JC and yourselves are doing.
that's why we encourage
Yeah.
partnerships,
Yes,
and we're
yes.
really encouraging partnerships in this vein.
Yeah.
And that's also one of the reasons that, as you'd have mentioned,
JSIF,
JSIF and the government, which is the Ministry of Local Government, they are assisting in some areas. We want more, and we're really reaching out to see how other partners can come in and assist.
Yeah, because aside from the fact that electricity is an important utility, I believe that it's one of the essential utilities that people should
It
have
is.
as a matter of right, and that we need to stand behind putting infrastructure and programs in place to bring them on board, and it shouldn't really be left up to JPS alone, is
Yes,
what I'm
definitely.
saying.
Partnerships.
Yeah, makes sense.
Partnerships.
All right, as you can see, we don't want you to go, so we're going to have to throw you out.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You can't try the beautiful woman. Hello.
All right, Percy, catch her.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, it seems like even the post-interview was more useful information came out of that. All right, let's release her.
Thank you
Because
so
if you're not
much.
staying for breakfast, which, by the way, JD does an excellent local breakfast. What do we have this morning? Ackee and saltfish, salt mackerel, and brown provisions. We have pork as well.
Corn pork.
Corned pork. Okay, so you know who's having corned pork. Good question to ask. All right, so yeah, when you do want a local breakfast in a beautiful, peaceful, calm surrounding, JD's Urban Pub, please remember them as you are making your way through the city. All right, it's not time to take a break, no? Okay, because I'm getting looks. All right. Miss Marilyn, thank you. Have a beautiful day and a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much.
And as I said, when you are ready for an outdoor broadcast in one of those communities,
Sure.
please remember that Pastor Percival and I have visa and will travel.
Definitely.
Well, I
Thank
say
you.
have car,
Thank
but
you.
some people need a car, so have car will travel. Yes, and when you have your first winner, if you want to give a shout out to our listeners after,
Definitely.
yeah, please
Thank
let
you
us
so
know.
much.
You say partnership, and we're all about that.
Excellent. Thank you so
All
much.
right.
And thanks to your listeners. All right.
All right. Well, of course, you know that Miss Marilyn came and she did her piece very well within her area of expertise, but we could not resist going a little farther afield. As we look to embrace needs, we know that persons need to have the ability to enter into various contracts and services without a lot of humbug. And I know from past experience, I don't know, Percival, the last time you tried to initiate a contract with JPS, or even if you're trying to do water commission, or even when you're doing, if you're doing cable service, and Lord forbid too, when I went to MoneyGram yesterday, my day of horror, you get asked questions that have to do with identity, but it's not so much identity, it's also having to do with integrity. Because everybody who does business with you quite rightly want to know, is this a reliable,
Is your
decent
word good?
person,
Is your word
or is your word good, and is the police, sometimes some of them even want to know if the police gonna come tearing down their door to find out where the money come from that you took from so and so to buy that real estate, or that whatever it is. These days it seems like any sum of money can become suspect. And there's a part of me that says you need to set a bar and work with it. There's another part that recognizes that one cocoa does fill up the basket, and good money laundering schemes exist based on small sums being inserted into the economy in careful and controlled ways. So I do understand that you can have a problem that manifests in small transactions. So we know that it's going to become a necessity for citizens to be able, with one document or through one process, establish who they are, and they don't have to keep repeating it everywhere they go. What say you?
Yeah, that's true. But
Is it the mark of the beast?
is it the mark of the beast? Probably on the road to that, but not
Yeah.
the mark of the beast.
It becomes inevitable.
Yeah. It's on the road to that, whether we like it or not,
Yeah.
in terms of information residing in one place, and few people can track you, find you. Even your phone becomes a tracker these days, so you can turn it on and
Listen to me. I was watching a magazine program on television about a murder investigation. A man had courted a lady much younger than him, and had even gone to the extreme thing of
Supposedly.
having plastic surgery done so he could look younger,
Wow.
because she said he was too old for her. And when she continued to resist him, he ultimately killed her. And they had a sense that he was the person, but they couldn't find the evidence because he had also taken care of her body.
Ooh.
And they tracked his movements to the point where they saw that he had gone to a certain computer cafe, like internet cafe.
Send the information to show off the investigators.
Yeah, listen to me. Those people reconstructed his keystrokes and saw that he did a search. And you're watching it as the program rebuilt what he did. You saw the letters just popping up on the screen as they saw the query that he had put in. How long does it take for a body to decay?
Are you kidding?
That was what he researched.
That's
He
all
was
like
researching.
sci-fi.
And no, I mean, and they're showing you the old grainy, because the internet cafe has a camera in it. And so they're showing you the words just popping up on the screen. Every stroke of the key on a computer, on every touch of the dial on your phone. If somebody cares enough, they can hunt down that data. Remember who was here during our digital literacy series and said that you...
Prof. Golding.
Yes, might have been Professor Golding say, you leave a mark
Yeah, everywhere you go into the internet, there's something there. There's
And
your
if
trail.
the technology is there to reconstruct.
Yeah.
It is spooky to just see the words coming up. How long does it take for a body to decay? So they say, all right, you're making that search, let's see what else he did. And he thought that it was okay to go to different internet cafes because he's smart enough to know that they can track his phone and what he does on his own devices. So he goes to different places. Once they knew where he went and identified the computer he used, everything was then open.
Yeah, but
So the technology is there for us to do and know a lot of things. So yeah. So what it means is this: when I go into take your NIDS, if NIDS becomes a proper reality, when I go in and I put my ID down, right away everybody knows. If I am on the NHF, they know that I'm hypertensive because I get this particular medication.
Hey, you remember there was a thing going around about Google? Something that was going around in regards to Google, and this guy ordered a pizza. You remember that?
Yeah,
it was funny.
Quite funny, but it's very true. You have to. I know you tell stories badly, but have a go.
No, but he ordered a pizza.
Yes.
And they asked him what kind of pizza, and they told him, no, that's not what he normally ordered. That's what I want. And then he goes on to say, all right, I don't want this pizza. And then he goes on to say, oh, but you didn't take your medication. And they say, oh, you know I don't take my medication. And he says, because you should have filled it up, and this is the last time. And it goes on and said, wow, it's
Oh, welcome back. Of course, the breeze is still with us, very much so. So that's what you're hearing in the background. I mean, I'm hearing it. It's like I'm at sea.
Yes, like you
When you
hear
go fishing.
you go fishing and you hear the breeze in the background in regards to what is happening. Or if you go and you are at a resort and you're close to the seashore, you hear it all night long. It's so soothing for you as an individual. So I'm just saying, wow.
And I am also applauding this initiative that JPS has done. I am one of the persons who I used to write to them, and the people that I know there from my days when I was advisor on energy to a certain minister of government. I used to press hard on the persons I knew to say it is about time that JPS showed some level of partnership on the social enterprise side in ensuring that customers could have greater access. In my view, an electricity contract or an electricity supply is one of the necessities of modern living. That's my view. I do not think there should be any household in Jamaica that does not have access to electricity. Electricity, water, telecommunications. Access to the internet is a fundamental human right.
That way now.
Not becoming. It has been declared to be so.
It is now?
Yes. No, from like 2015.
Okay.
It was declared. The UN, it is the UN that make these declarations. That's the one thing I give them. I love it when they make a declaration because the rest of us fall in line.
Actually?
Yes.
Some of them good, some of them bad.
Some of them. The truth is, when you look at it and you look at all of the whereas and recognizing that's around it, they all come from a good place. And can I tell you, Pastor, when you look at them, that good place is based in some divine right that comes from the same book that you and I like to reference. Straight out of God's mouth.
Most of them.
I would say all of them, really. You can align it to one of the fundamental right and freedom of individuals who are created in the image of God. So I think that any initiative to ensure that Jamaicans, whether they own land, whether them squatting, as we call it, I hate that word. Even the position that it refers.
When somebody is
squatting on the ground, you don't have a chair. That's what it means. But whether they are living on land with full ownership rights or not, they are entitled to have access to water, to communication services, and to electricity. I believe those are fundamental rights. The partnership between JSIF and JPS is right and fitting to help persons get their homes, their place of abode properly wired for safe electricity supply.
And then the side I found interesting, which I told you we partnered with the
JPS Foundation,
the renewal project. So they went into communities and then they said, we're legalizing these people, making them legitimate, but how do they continue to pay? And so they were upskilling the persons, giving them a skill set that they could constantly be employed so they are able to pay their bills and don't have to be disconnected. Because one of the things that Winsome continued to mention is why this came about, it don't make any sense. People have service and they're not able to pay for it. So the real idea with the prepaid was to put power into the hands of the consumer so they can determine what they can pay for and what was extra that is not out of budget. So they're thinking that was a strategic move in terms of taking into consideration a mindset and the context that we live in as Jamaicans.
It's also a great plug for our digital literacy initiative because for you to download the app, understand how to manage your consumption and watch how your money is being spent throughout the 30-day period, be able to do your top-ups from time to time, perhaps even get a credit card, or as I've prophetically said, JPS will soon have a card of their own that they use for this, so you cut out the middleman. You can just straight from your bank or whatever put the money that you want on the card, and as you need to from time to time they just charge against the card everybody does that. That is how you have supermarket card. That's how you have gas card and so on. It's just the next step. When you do something like this, it's the next step. And we have also seen where Digicel, in how they manage their sale of credit, they have become a financial institution too.
Yeah, because
they lend you money, they borrow money from you.
You can get credit and then you get it paid back when the other things come.
Absolutely, you can trade credit between customers.
So we soon get the situation
where
nobody soon get the situation. Send me some light.
Of course.
We'll say it as a joke still. But
and you can ask for it in terms of hours. We need 2 hours or we need one night. Beg you some light. We need to get through the weekend. I see it emerging. That is a necessary part of the future. But it becomes one of the ways that citizens will be drawn into the digital environment, because these necessary utilities have become a digital experience. So that's good for the citizen. Everybody who live can eventually know how to get a smartphone, and I'm glad that a smartphone is one of the prizes, because you do need a smartphone to deal with the app. Yeah. So all of it, I mean, it is, we're seeing it. I said to Pastor tongue-in-cheek, did I say it on air or off? I said, is this the mark of the beast? Drawing closer and closer. I asked you. Okay.
And I responded, and I'm saying it's probably not, but it is on the road in terms of
the building blocks.
Yes, they put in the infrastructure together, because remember in Revelation it said you will not be able to buy or sell or do anything without this mark. And
yes.
And if you put in everything into this place,
this one network, this interconnected system,
it is what it is.
It is ripe to be hijacked. You know, like how you build something for one purpose, and you with your good heart is using it for that purpose, and another man just come and take it over and apply it to another purpose.
That's what it is.
That's what will ultimately happen.
And that is a concern that a lot of people are raising, even in terms of what's happened with the vaccine.
Yes.
Being able to move or travel. I know the US is pushing for mandatory vaccination, even though studies are coming out that
even though the public health crisis doesn't require it. One of the important thing to note with it, however, is you don't resist the pull of good innovation because you are afraid of the downside.
It's not a decision you have to take. We talk about informed consent. You look at it and say, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, for one, I know if my knowledge that fire can burn down a house caused me to reject fire because I don't want the house to burn down, hypothetically, it would mean that all the other good things that you accomplish with fire and heat and the transfer of energy, you would miss out on it. So that's the point I'm making. It's a no-brainer. You do not resist the pull of innovation simply because you're afraid of its abuse. I mean,
and then how do you control for that?
The things we talk about. You build from the heart. You try to ensure that you inculcate the right values in the persons who have to use it, so that whenever they use it for good rather than evil. It is the same reason why America is refusing to do the kind of gun control measures that people are advocating, because they say the gun is there. The gun is what the soldiers use to defend freedom and democracy. The gun is what the police use to fight off criminals. The gun is a necessary weapon for the protection of those who need protecting. So how am I going to demonize the gun when it is the man who's using it that have the problem?
And that is true, because
and all of that is true.
Everybody shooting it. You know. So it really, you are in a dilemma, but you have to, I say, have the information, make a decision, and trust in the divine to help you when you are in a crisis.
Well, and have the right heart.
Yeah, that's what it is about.
At the end of the day, have the right heart, because you are the one who will determine whether you use it for good or for evil.
It's like money. Oh,
we finished where we started.
We're going back to money.
Yeah, you picked it out of my brain, because I kept remembering the Minister Chang saying $1 billion US is flowing into this country, and it is going into crime and violence. And that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. But then what I see is you're putting the 20 ton
is like 160 trillion
Jamaican dollars.
That's it?
Me no know, me not do those calculations.
A billion is nine zeros.
I would advise you not to do it on air.
Yeah,
It's just my advice.
I'm just looking at it. I'm gonna calculate that because at the present exchange rate. For real, come on, hold on. How big is the Jamaican economy?
All right, you do that math while I answer Earl Brown. Earl Brown want to know if Jamaica is going to the meeting. This is the Summit of Americas. Currently, Jamaica is standing in the pack with the CARICOM countries who have said we're not going. But bear in mind that Jamaica has a propensity to break rank. So Jamaica might break rank over this issue with tourism because the CDC has issued a warning that Jamaica is not to be visited because we're a hot risk for COVID-19. So Jamaica might want to negotiate a removal of that, and that's a problem for tourism because all of our tourism gurus have gone on record saying this is going to be a bumper crop of a season. You know, like the black mango season we're having at Ligani Club.
Yeah,
yes, it's raining mangoes
yeah.
here. It's going to be raining tourists in Jamaica. So while we are saying that it's going to be a bumper season, CDC has said do not go to Jamaica because you're going to get COVID and then you can't come home. So Jamaica, typically when that happens, Jamaica gets on the horn and begin to negotiate to downgrade it from whatever level of panic the CDC has sounded to something more tolerable where persons will keep to their vacation plans.
Let me just say this. Media, the fourth estate, information, disinformation, and so on. Do you know in a lot of countries, even as we speak, in regards to what's happening with COVID, it is now emerging that a lot of the people who have COVID out of UK and so on, those are people who have been fully vaccinated, boosted, and I'm saying, come on. When are we going to change this narrative? The narrative change to monkeypox, you know.
Yes, so between the two, we're gonna get juked by something. May I just say good morning to Mr. Kevin Galloway in St. Elizabeth. I'm glad you're listening, and I echo your welcome to the Honorable Miss Gloria McGilvery. She's visiting from Trinidad. He says, shout out coming from my maid servant coming from Trinidad, my Honorable Miss Gloria McGilvery. So good morning to you, Kevin. Thanks for hailing us up. And to Earl Brown and Kayon Brown and all the others. Taki, hey, good morning. He says there was a circulation in social media a few weeks ago addressing that issue, even before the Texas school shooting incident. Yep, this is the issue of gun control, what Canada is doing, what America is not doing. We're about to close the show, so I'm just making sure that I give some love to the people who are supporting us online. Delroy Henry from the UK. Do you know the UK starting 4 days of holidays with the Queen or Jubilee? So we don't get the good parts. We could do it 4 days of holiday.
For what?
Why don't
Will it be like
Pastor?
when we qualified for the World Cup in 1998 and the national holiday was
it
declared?
was Mr. Patterson declared a national holiday.
Yeah, do that, man. Yeah, do that.
Delroy, you make my heart smile. Delroy says the site where we are, our location here, it says it is so beautiful. Yeah, we echo that. That's why we persevere, even if the breeze blow hard and eat up some of our words.
Yeah, we persevere.
We persevere
because Percy is here.
And Earl confirms that when Canadian passports are swiped at the airports or border crossings in Canada, the information goes to every government agency or department in Canada. Absolutely. So you can't enter one place and say, and they ask you, are you coming from Africa? And you say, no, never been to Africa. And then when monkeypox reach you, you tell them that you caught it down in Texas or something. Everybody will know that you were in Africa. Because we have those kinds of issues where persons tell one set of information to one agency and another to, we get confused.
Or no.
Or you come in by boat and you say something different at the airport.
Yeah.
No, everybody.
Yeah. Drive across the border like what's happening with the Texas and Mexico border, where people are just coming across all different points. You remember the story was, I think, weeks ago as we closed that Jamaicans were going to Mexico in order to get to the States. There was human trafficking there, using it now with the freedom and the fact that there's no real control at the border. A lot of people are going to Mexico and from Mexico going over into the US. Boy, Jamaicans, good boy.
All right. Oh, we're at that time of the morning where we get to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much to those who have supported us all throughout the week, as well as this morning on air, online. A special thank you again to JPS. We're learning so much more. You know, there is a saying that if you walk in a man's shoes, then you will understand his experience.
Always.
And you become way more sympathetic and way more understanding. We're walking in a little bit of JPS shoes because they're coming and showing us what their experience is. So we are a lot more understanding. You and I are in agreement that citizens need to stand together and work together and address the real enemy, which is outside of us and not in us. You
gotta love ourselves and we love our neighbors.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Stop the
condemn the conduct and love the man.
Yeah, stop the self-hate. There's too much self-hate that is present in our country. We have to begin to love ourselves. How do you love yourself? By recognizing what God has said about you. When He created us, He said, "Not good, very good, very good." And even as you go into the week and we enter into
our weekend,
our weekend and Pentecost comes on Sunday. At that point in history, the infinite connected with the finite to release the unlimited potential that we have as humankind, created in the image and likeness of God. What good?
Thank you to Raphael back at the studio, and thank you to the crew right here on site at the Ligany Club or Ligany Club family. Thank you for hosting us. JD's Urban Pub, thank you. We love you all and we look forward to being back here. Well, back here on Thursday, but back on air on Monday.
Yeah.
With our Best FM family. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bless you now.